Welcome back to God's amazing story. We have learned how God made the world, how God kept His promise with Noah. And today we will meet a man who trusted God with his whole heart. His name was Abraham. This is a story about faith, trust in God's big promise. A long time ago there lived a man named Abraham. Abraham loved God and listened to Him. One day God spoke to Abraham and said, "Leave your home and go to a land I will show you." Abraham did not know where he was going, but Abraham trusted God.
So Abraham obeyed, he packed his things. He traveled with his wife Sarah. God made a wonderful promise to Abraham.
God said, ooh.
Hello, children. Welcome back to God's great story. We have learned about God's promises to Abraham. Today we will learn how God rescued His people and used a man named Moses. This is a story about God's power, God's care, and God leading His people to freedom.
A long time ago, God's people lived in Egypt. They worked very hard. They were tired and sad, but God saw them. God heard their prayers. God did not forget them. God chose a man named Moses. When Moses was a baby, God protected him. He grew up and learned about God. One day God spoke to Moses from a burning bush. The bush was on fire, but it did not burn away. God said, "Moses, I have seen my people suffering. I want you to lead them out of Egypt." Moses felt afraid, but God said, "I will be with you." Moses obeyed God. God showed His power in many ways. Finally, Pharaoh let God's people go. God led His people to the Red Sea. The sea was in front of them, and danger was behind them. God told Moses to raise his staff. God made a path through the sea. The people walked across on dry ground. God rescued His people. They were free. Children, God is powerful. And God makes a way. Man, sometimes God makes a way out of love when there's no path for me to see. God makes a way to set me free. God is strong. God is near. God will help us. Never fear. The sea stood tall on every side. The people walked with faith inside. God's mighty hand was leading through. He did what no one else could do. God makes a way. Lift it high, step by step. Walk it out that God is strong. Shout it loud, God makes a way. Clap it out if you're scared and don't know what to do.
children, welcome back to God's wonderful story. God rescued his people from Egypt. God made a way through the sea. Today we will learn how God guided his people and taught them how to live. This is a story about God's love, God's rules, and God leading his people forward. After God rescued his people, he led them through the desert. God did not leave them alone. God went with them every day. During the day, God led them with a cloud. At night, God led them with fire. God showed them the way. Then God brought his people to a mountain called Mount Sinai. There God spoke to Moses. God gave Moses good rules called the 10 Commandments. These rules showed people how to love God and how to love each other. God's rules were not to hurt them. God's rules were to help them. God promised to lead his people to a promised land, a land full of good things. Sometimes the people were afraid, sometimes they complained. But God was patient. God provided food. God provided water. God stayed with them. Children, God guides his people with love.
God shows the way, yes he does. God shows the way out of love. When I don't know where to go, God shows the way and helps me grow. God is good, God is true. God will guide me through and through. God's rules were not to hurt them. God's rules were to help them.
God promised to lead his people to a promised land,
A land full of good things.
sometimes the people were afraid,
Sometimes they complained.
but God was patient. God provided food. God provided water. God stayed with them.